Happy Easter. Who got lots of chocolate this morning? I got lots of chocolate this morning. You can sit down. Yeah, sit down. Did the Easter Bunny come? Yes? Okay. My name is Zari, and I'm a junior leader at Burleigh Village Kids, and I'm stoked to be bringing you the Kids Chat today, especially on this amazing day. So, shall we dive in? Okay, so imagine that this jar of oil is you. When it was first poured into this jar, it was clean, clear, and pure. Nothing had touched it, and it wasn't mixed with anything else. And that's how we were created. We were made good. In the Bible, in the very first chapter of the very first book, Genesis, it says in verse 31, God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. That means that every single thing that God had created was complete, whole, and exactly the way it was meant to be, right from the start. There was no pain, no fear, no sadness, no sickness, and most of all, no sin. God also gave people something really special, free will. We had the choice to love him and obey him, and he gave us a perfect life with him if we wanted it. But then, something changed. In the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve were tempted by the serpent. They chose to eat the fruit from the one tree that God had told them not to eat from. In that moment, sin entered the world. It wasn't just about the fruit, it was about disobedience and choosing their own way instead of God's. And that was the first time that God's perfect world was diluted. An example of this is Romans 5:12. Therefore, just as sin entered the world through one man, and death through sin, and in this way death came to all people. Sin didn't just stay with Adam and Eve, it spread and it affected everyone. Now, let's see what that looks like. This food colouring represents sin. You might say something mean or nasty to someone, or you might lie to get out of trouble. You might disobey your parents. You might feel jealous. You might do something you're not supposed to. Every drop changes the oil. It's not clear anymore. It's mixed. It's stained. And the thing is, everyone does this. No one is perfect. Sin isn't just the big bad things we hear about. It's the small, everyday choices that separate us from God. The more it builds up, the more it changes us. And no matter how hard we try, we can't remove the drops by ourselves. Now, this might seem a little bit off topic, but just stay with me. At Easter, we remember something incredibly important. We remember that Jesus died on the cross for us. But he didn't just die. He chose to take the punishment for our sin, and he stepped into our place. As you walked in, you probably got one of these little crosses, you probably found one of these little crosses on your seats. Some of you might also have one hanging around your neck, or in your ears, or maybe on your wrist, and there is also a giant one behind you. And you know why we have these crosses all around us? Because they're empty. Because Jesus left that cross and rose again. So, the other day, we went to New Life, and about halfway through the service, Michael, the lead preacher, is talking about how Jesus was whipped before he was hung on the cross to die. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to go into details, I'm not that mean, but trust me when I say this, I'm not a really squeamish person, and I still hated it. But even just hearing what he went through for us, and that he chose to do it, it's just incredible. And as we were listening to Michael say these unpleasant but true words, Hamish, my brother, and I were making eye contact with Mum, and then going like this because we hated these words and this description so much. And when we got home, we had a conversation with Dad about this, and he said to us, he did that for you. He sacrificed his life so that you could live. And you know what the best part about that is? It's true. He did that for you. He did that for us. He did that for your friends. He did that for your family. He did that for your neighbor. He did that for those people you work with or go to school with. And he did that for those people who, no matter how many times you invite them to church, they still won't come. And he did that for every single person who has ever and will ever live on the face of this earth. And you know why? Because he loves us. Okay, now imagine that this water is Jesus. Water represents purity and life. When Jesus died and rose again, he made a way to restore what was broken. The water fills the jar and it pushes out what doesn't belong. It covers what was stained. When Jesus comes into our life, sin has to leave. There isn't enough room for both. He makes a way for us to be clean again, not because we earned it, not because we were good enough, but because he loves us. Jesus has taken all of our sin upon himself and has given us a clean life again. The Gospel of John 3:16 says, "For God so loved this world that he gave his one and only Son, and that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life." And that's why we celebrate Easter, not just because Jesus died, but because he rose again. Because sin and death didn't win. Because God didn't leave us in a diluted, broken world without hope. Easter reminds us that no matter how many drops fall into our jar, Jesus offers forgiveness, restoration, and a fresh start. And that is something worth celebrating. Kids, if you would like to head down to the back, there is a colouring competition and everyone who completes it will get a treat.